Jai Hind, Jai Mulnivasis. Welcome to MNT News Network. Today is Sunday, and today I would like to discuss on a very important topic in English. And today we have invited Professor Chalam sir, and the topic is privatization of public sector undertakings and government sector in India, and its impact on weaker section of the society. So this is the bonding topic in India, and this is very important topic. Our learned personnel shall know about the basics and its pros and cons about privatization in this country. So for this program, we have invited Mulnivasis Professor Chalam sir, versatile scholar and former member of UPSC and former Vice Chancellor of Dravidian University. Welcome, sir, Professor Chalam sir. Jai Hind, Jai Mulnivasis, sir. Sir, we are so happy to see you, sir. And you have written so many books on economics, sir. And when we went through, just we would like to publish just a clippings about your versatility, sir. And we have seen so many books in your when we searched about you in Google, sir. And the books written by you is very important and it is useful for the society, sir. Sir, we would like to invite you, sir, for today's invitation. And we are so happy, sir. Previously, we have invited you as a chief guest for Bamsat National Convention, sir. And
Yes.
I have written even history books also, sir. That are so useful. And we are so happy to see you in our MNT News Network, sir. Welcome, sir. Sir, yeah, my voice is audible, sir?
Yes, very clear.
Oh, okay. Sir,
Yes,
thank you, sir. Sir, the topic is a very important topic, sir. Sir, privatization of public sector undertakings and government sectors in India, its impact on weaker section of the society. Sir, the first question we would like to ask you, how the public sector and government sectors are formed in India, because it is our learned personnel shall know about the formation of public sector and government sector, and on which purpose the Constituent Assembly adapted the Indian Constitution, particularly in the context of public sector and government sector. Sir, what are the benefits that the government and the employees got through these sectors, sir? So we would like to know from your viewpoints, sir. Professor Chalam, sir.
I convey my greetings to all our friends and listeners. I'm happy once again on this platform. Friends, this is as our Kumar has said, it's a very important topic today. He has raised 2-3 questions in one question. There are supplementary questions within that question. But the basic question is, what is and how it has come into our constitutional agenda. That's the basic problem. In fact, public sector and government enterprise or departmental undertakings are two different concepts. But public sector has been in existence since the time of the formation of the state. When the state formed, we don't know, maybe around 4000 BC or maybe around 2000 BC in Harappa. When the state was formed, the state took care of the welfare of the people. Therefore, it was inevitable for the state to have some kind of a economic activity. In fact, Ardhashastra of Kautilya during the Gupta period mentioned about the public sector. He has narrated about the different superintendents of supervision. He has mentioned about the Sotradhyaksha. Sutradyaksh means he is the superintendent of textiles. There are many other superintendents because the state was manufacturing commodities for the use of the public during that period. What I am trying to say is, similarly in Egypt during the Pharaohs period, during the imperial dynasties in China, state had certain activities in the past, but we are concerned now with the modern state. In the modern state, uh, we know that economists know about the writings of J.S. Mill and others. They have discussed about liberty, they have discussed about freedom, they have discussed about laissez-faire. The laissez-faire is responsible for the market economy. But even Adam Smith, who considered that the state should, the activities of the people should be left free, lest there be laissez-faire, has also identified three important functions for the state. One is judiciary, second is public works, and the third is defense. In these three important activities should be under the control of the state. Similarly, the great political economist, we call him J.S. Mill, John Stuart Mill, has also mentioned about, I'm just making the concept clear, mentioned about the whenever there is a need, the state should intervene for the welfare of the people. So it is under this background, why I'm saying all this is to say that the officers who came under the East India Company were trained by the followers of J.S. Mill and Bentham and all that. They were utilitarians. They came to India as officers, civil servants. They managed the economy, Indian economy, during the colonial period. During the colonial period, I'm not getting into the more details about how the public sector and how the state was responsible in hydraulic societies like India, Iraq, Iran, Egypt. These are the hydraulic societies, in the sense that hydraulic societies are societies where water is controlled and regulated by the state, for which a huge establishment was has developed. That I am not going to discuss here because that's not our concern here. Our concern is only about the state and the sector and the economic activities of the state. One of the important activities of the economic activities of the state is to produce commodities, what we call in economics public goods. What are the public goods? Public goods should be given to the people, like education, health, and also important commodities for the survival, wage goods, etc. They don't come under public goods of the modern definition, but this is important. Therefore, the British, when they left India in 1947, there were five important sectors, public sectors in our country. One is the railways, posts and telegraphs, All India Radio, ordnance factory, and salt factory. Only three sectors were under the control of the state. Now you are raising an important question: how it has entered into our system as a public sector. Except these five important government sectors, there was no government activity. There was no government enterprise at that time when the British left this country. And at this is, I think, at this juncture, we should also know about the kind of government we had at that time in England. You know, Ramsay MacDonald was a Fabian Labour Party Prime Minister, UK first Labour Prime Minister, who was known to Baba Saheb Ambedkar, and as a result, he has entered the Round Table Conference in 1931. I'm not going to touch that point. But Labour Party was responsible in giving us the independence. Attlee was the Prime Minister of England in 1945. They gave us independence. At that time, what was the condition of the Indian economy? And the poverty. What is the per capita income? It is just 1,200 rupees or 200 of that amount. Poverty was around 70% in the 1940s. Therefore, the conditions of the poor people, not only scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward classes, and others, but generally they were poor. Of course, in our country, whenever we consider about the Indian society, the Western scholars, Indian scholars, everybody talks about population. Population means they mean only the Dvija communities, Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. They consider only the 10% of the population that constitute the Indian population. Therefore, whatever they wrote, even till now, whatever they wrote about India is only about whether on religion, on philosophy, or economy, or whatever it may be. They were talking only in terms of this 10% of the population. 10% of the population is not small amount in this country. In a country of 140 crore people, 10% means is equivalent to some of the small countries like Saudi Arabia and all the Arabian countries. Therefore, they were talking only in terms of, but they never referred to the other sections of the society, non-Dvija communities like the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. I call it service caste. In fact, some of you may not be, because you are outside the country, you may not be knowing about the situation now. The scheduled caste, generally we consider as Dalits, is a consisting of 1260 castes. Some of the castes which are in South India are scheduled castes are backward classes somewhere. Some of the backward classes in South India are scheduled castes in North India, say Julaha, the fishermen. They were scheduled castes because whatever maybe. I'm not getting into that. But what I'm trying to say is when the British left this country in 1947, we had terrible problems here. But it is during that period, after the Second World War, economists started looking at the development possibilities. Before that, that's why Baba Sahib Ambedkar was trained before 1920, and who has entered the government after 1930s, had little exposure to the development issues. He was concerned only about the development of the whole community, not necessarily Dalits and BCs. He was a part of the government. Under the Governor General's Council, he entered as a labor minister and has developed several acts which are now being written off. You know, many people may not know, those who are outside the country. The present government has abolished all the acts that were passed, started by Baba's 1926 Act and 1942 Act. All these acts that have given rise to the laborers, workers, have been abolished, and they brought 3 labor codes now. That is a different issue altogether. But now, at that time, in 1947, what happened? The Congress party has appointed a committee under Jawaharlal Nehru, a planning committee, to look into the development of the country when the country gets independence. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who entered into the Governor General's Council, has also looked at the whole problem. Being an economist, was trained both as an economist, as a public finance scholar, and also a monetarist under Cannon in London School of Economics, knew about the economic situation of the country. He was also looking at it. Now we have raised an important question, how it has entered into the Constituent Assembly debate. I'm sorry, public sector was never discussed a part of the Constituent Assembly. It was discussed a part of Baba Sahib Ambedkar has introduced. One of the greatest innovations of Baba Sahib Ambedkar in the constitutional making is directive principles of state policy. And many people raised objections. Why you are introducing? Because it was in England, particularly Ireland. Ireland has the directive principles of state policy. Why are you bringing those directive principles of state policy here? In that, now it was Article 32, now it is 38 and 39. Directive principles of state policy, Baba Sahib Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly has said, these are the instruments of instruction. He said, these are the instruments of instruction to the government in power. The fundamental rights are different, but these are the important instruments of instruction. They are directive principles, and every government is obliged to achieve these objectives. What are the objectives? Article 39 AC indicates about there should not be concentration of wealth. The people should be given opportunities. And Article 46 also, where they spoke about 46 about the scheduled castes, 45 about the adult literacy, that became a separate act later. What I'm trying to say, Article 38, 39 and the Directive Principles of State Policy discussed about the economic responsibilities of the state. Leave apart this Constituent Assembly. Baba Sahib Ambedkar knew about this. Being an economist, he has developed an important document. The document is known as States and Minorities. Through the Scheduled Caste Federation, SCF, he got it submitted to the Constituent Assembly. And one must look at the this important document, 45 pages, written in the form of a constitution, preamble, etc., rights, etc. It is exactly here. It was Baba Sahib Ambedkar who raised the question of the public sector. He has, in fact, when the British, the Labour Party gave independence, they had an industrial policy in 1945 in England, where, as a Labour Party, a socialist kind of a government wanted to give importance to the public sector in that country. They have divided the industries into different. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, without looking at those ideas, developed the states and minorities, in which he has said that there can be industries which should be under the control of the state. Agriculture should be nationalized, and land should be given to the people without any caste and all that. The land should be taken over from the private individuals and given debentures, and so on and so forth. He has asked even the nationalization of insurance company, nationalization should be under the control of the state. In other words, Baba Sahib Ambedkar has introduced the concept of public sector, the concept of the states playing the important role for the development of the country, for the development of the people in general, and the weaker sections in particular. Are you able to hear me?
Sir, thank you, sir. You have elaborately explained the first question, sir. And now we would like to go for the second question, sir. Sir, the typical conditions award.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Clarity is there, sir. The second question, sir. The typical conditions evolved from 15th August 1947 to as on date in India, based on the social movements, history and culture. It can be said that India is not a replica of Europe or America. Sir, still our present rulers are copying the slogan of the West that the government don't want to do business. Thus, they want to privatize the public sector. Sir, what is the comparison between the Western countries and in India? What will be the impact of privatization on students, employees, and particularly on the weaker sections of the society? Sir, Professor K. Chalam, sir, please explain, sir.
Yes, this is a very important question. Many people do not understand the background of the Western societies, including America. Most of the ideas relating to the privatization come from America. What is America? America is a settlers country. None of the present rulers, maybe including the Hispanics and the African Americans, are not from America. They are all settlers. And what kind of people are from Europe? What are they? Who are they? They are colonizers. They had colonies. England had colony, France had colony, Portugal had colonies, Spain had colonies. All the European countries have colonies. They have amassed, exploited the third world countries, the countries which were responsible in providing 3/4 of the total output of the world till 18th century was contributed by China and India. They exploited these countries and amassed wealth, and once they reached a particular stage of development, then they wanted to get rid of the state sector. The state. They are therefore you cannot compare America with India or Europe with India, because they are not non-ordinary countries, like any other country, non-European, non-Western countries, particularly America. They talk about all these things because they are the settlers, they are the exploiters, they are the killers. As a matter of fact, I don't want to use the term. They have eliminated the local people, the Mulnivasis. That's why I call the Mulnivasis were the native Indians. They are Native Americans. They have eliminated the Native Americans. They have also tried to eliminate the Native Indians. Even today, Native Indians in this country are still in trouble. Therefore, the kind of discussions, the kind of theories that the Western society developed are not applicable to any of the developing countries. Forget about India, because they were the settlers, they were the exploiters, they were who were the people who were discussing these issues, whether in the universities or on the other. They are very selfish people, what we call one-dimensional man. They talk only about the self. They talk about the self-interest. They don't talk about the community as a whole, because they don't have a community. Their communities are in Europe. That's what I used to say when I landed in US in 1985, long back. I found that we have traveled from London to America, New York, long time, hours together. It was all Atlantic. Then I realized, I brought the map. You just cut the Atlantic, just the Atlantic Sea, and join Europe with America. It is an extension of Europe. It's just physically, it is an extension of Europe. All those people who are from Europe are there in America now. Now, Russians have also joined after 1989-90. So, that country cannot be compared with other countries. That is not a free nation. They call it as a free nation, settlers nation. Therefore, we cannot compare the theories. In fact, it was America, what we call the Washington Consensus. We economists call it as Washington Consensus, means the World Bank in Washington, the Federal Reserve System of the UK, USA, and the IMF. These three institutions developed a consensus in the 90s to privatize. What happened to that? As a result, the public sector in the country, just disconnected. Okay. Therefore,
Sir,
uh,
please continue.
therefore, we cannot compare the American or the European society with India. We have a different historical past. They have a different. Even if we compare, look at those countries' economies. England had, even now after the what is called the COVID-19 2019, OECD, the Club of the Developed Societies, has said that the countries have failed because they have failed to provide public services through the government sector. They have suffered a lot. You have seen during the COVID period how many people died because of the lack of the public sector support from the public sector. I'm not talking about the enterprises, government. As a result, now they are saying that the importance of the public sector, importance of the government is considered to be very important now. Even the Western societies, America and other societies are considering that. Forget about the China, Russia, and other communist countries, not the countries where social welfare is there. They are different. They have a sector, they have a government sector that is taking care of the people, welfare of the people. But in our country, compared to them, remember that has to give justice, social rights, friends, is don't talk only about the social issues. Baba Sahib was concerned about the economic issues. Therefore, how do you dispense economic justice? Social justice may be untouchability abolition, Article 17, and others. But political justice, reservations are given for the consciences. But how about economic justice? How do you do it? You can dispense economic justice through public sector. It is the public sector that provides you opportunities. As a model employer, state has to implement all the constitutional provisions, and as a model employer, state has to provide access to the weaker sections into the society, into the economy. Therefore, public sector was very important. And from the very beginning, from the first plan onwards, in fact, 1948 industrial policy, in 1951, Congress has said that we are going to have in the Audi Congress, what is called the socialist pattern of society, and therefore 1956 industrial policy resolution has clearly said that public sector will be in the commanding heights of the economy. Public sector will be provided the command heights of the economy. In fact, it was the public sector, industries, enterprises, and the government railways, post and telegraphs, and other sectors were responsible making the country by 1991, when it was opened up by Narasimha Rao, the outside world reached in a particular stage where the total employment in the government sector, public enterprises, state, local boards, etc., was around 2 crore jobs. There were around 2 crore jobs were there at that time. And now, it has come down to 1.7 crores. 1.7 means 30 lakhs jobs are already lost. I may give reservation sections, because you are talking about the weaker sections. In 2014, now we have only 20 lakh jobs. 7 lakh lost. And employees, in public, well, just 8 lakh jobs. My gazetted officers, IAS officers, civil servants, B category. C category is class 3. There is a separate category known as Safai Karmacharis. See, there is a reservation for Safai Karmacharis. You know what is the percent of reservation given? 40%. Scheduled caste under Karmacharis are 40%, but not in C, but not in A and B. The backward classes are less. And the STs are given for 16%, 7% scheduled caste are given 16% at A and B, but in C and D, the number is much higher. more than the proportion of the population. But what I am trying to say is that despite of all this, the total capital employed in the public sector is almost equal to the budget. There are 33 lakh crores of rupees invested in the public sector. They are giving 2 lakh crores of rupees as profit. Who are they? The people, the Western oriented, the Aryan oriented people talk about inefficiency. It's not inefficiency. It is efficient working of the public sector that has provided employment, that has given etc. And also in terms of net return. This is the situation.
I think there is a signal problem with Professor K. Chalam, sir. So the sir is excellently explaining about the privatization of public sector. So to get economic justice, public sectors are very, very important. And the sir is explaining. And Professor Chalam sir is again he is connecting his phone. And
with my phone.
Sir, yeah,
Yes.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
Are you able to hear me?
yes, sir. We are able to hear your voice, sir. Sir, the third question we would like to ask you, sir. The employees unions in most of the organizations are slowly united and started opposing privatization in this country. So, what is the role of social organizations in stopping privatization? What methodologies are required to work united so as to safeguard the public sector and government sector? Is the role of public and employees partnership required to stop privatization? Sir, please explain, sir.
Privatization in the Western society is different privatization here. In our country, from the very beginning, government was held by the three upper classes, the Divija communities, the Brahmin, Banya, and the Vaishyas. They were the rulers. They were also the employees when the public sector came. That's why when nationalization took place, Periyar sarcastically said, this nationalization is just Brahminization. And you know how much money in the public sector banks have siphoned off by this. You know what's happening today in England? Whose money is that? Whose money is that? Who are the people who settled in London? You know, the money that was generated by generations of the lower caste, toiling in the public sector, toiling in the fields, have saved money. They have invested in the public sector by foregoing, without asking for jobs, without asking for education, without asking for help. Whatever that was invested in the public sector was the money of the lower classes, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward classes, and the poor. They have foregone. and invested in their money is invested. The government money through the budget was invested in the public sector. That money is taken out. After 1991, in the name of economic reforms, they've introduced all kinds of economic jugglery to take away the money, to take away the investments of the poor from India to abroad. At that time, when they used to heckle the government, Nehru government, Indira Gandhi government, whatever, I'm not going to, I don't hold a brief for them. But the government was called as the license permit RAS. What is this license permit RAS? What kind of RAS we have today? It's a contractor RAS. Simply contractors and advisors and consultants. Who are these advisors, consultants, contractors? Therefore, some kind of a crony capitalism has come into the country. Crony capitalism means capitalism, the benefits of the economic opportunities are given to only their cronies, their friends and the families. It may be true in the West. Cronies means friends as well. In India, the crony is built into the system. Who are the cronies? The cronies are we know, the cronies are the castes. It's structured. The cronies of this country, the upper caste, they have amassed wealth and they have taken away. As a result of this, the lower caste are displaced. They have no jobs now. Unemployment has increased. And the number of, as I told you, the number of jobs created in the public sector have come down. They are doing it intentionally to make you depend on the upper caste. This is not, the strategy in the West may be different. Maybe we may accept to some extent the efficiency, merit, etc. But here, it's not efficiency, merit. It is only to make and bring back the Manudharma, where the lower caste, 90% of the population has to serve the 10% or 5% of the population. The three Vijas: rule, enjoy, and own the property, while the others are deprived of the properties and benefits and privileges. This is the system that is happening in today. Therefore, nobody is interested now in discrimination, etc. Discrimination is not only happening in physical discrimination, untouchability. Discrimination is happening in the employment, jobs, everything. Structurally done in the name of the privatization. Therefore, what they should do, and even the unions are defunct. There are no unions. The trade unions in this country functioned only because of the public sector. They survived on the public sector. In the private sector, there are no unions. Nobody cares for them. See, for example, IT. In the IT, there is no unions. They are observing caste system in America, in software industry. Maybe in Saudi and other worlds, I'm happy there is no such problem there, because majority of the people in these countries are the workers from these communities. There is no problem there. Maybe tomorrow, we don't know. But the situation today is that the working class, the weaker sections should come together. And some people are asking for reservation in private sector. Conceptually I agree, but that's not going to happen. When the number of jobs are declining, when they wanted to privatize the whole economy and give it to the cronies, and you know what's happening in India. In Visakhapatnam, the whole steel plant, yesterday we had a meeting. They wanted to privatize and give it to somebody. The port is privatized, that is given. We call, interestingly, some people call it as, we have two coasts. One is Ambani coast, that is west coast, and east coast is called Adani coast, because the whole coast is under their control. So these people are regulating the economy. These people are prescribing what we call the paid intellectuals. We have paid news. Paid news means when you give money, they will write your news. Now we have paid intellectual, paid professors. They give projects and write projects and reports and publish books through the media. They develop ideas that the present reservations, the present public sector are useless. That what our friends from Gujarat, who are in Columbia University, unfortunately, Jagdish Bhagwati and his student Panagaria, these two economists,
advisors to the present government talk about the inefficiency public sector, the invisible foot, they call it invisible hand, we in economics say, they call it invisible foot of the public sector. That is all nonsense. They don't have any moral support, because when you're doing crony capitalism, only one individual is taking whole the economy. How can you say that they're efficient? And this one individual, two individuals are depending on the same workforce. The two individuals are depending on the same people. And how is it possible? 12 lakh crores of rupees NPAs are wiped off. Who are they? Where is Malaya? Huh? Malaya is in England. All the fellows are there. If they are in India, all the public sector units are transferred in the name of inefficiency, in the name of privatization, etc. There is no reason. There is no reason to privatize, because if we are, see, if you own some property, you have every right to transfer to your children. If you don't own property, how can you do it? This property does not belong to the present government. This property belongs to the past generations. Mostly the weaker sections, SC, ST, BC people have invested their future in the public sector. How can you transfer? This is the moral question that you need to raise. And they are developing the crony capitalism, helping only certain communities, and others are thrown out. Therefore, in order, this is the future seems to be very bleak, very serious, unless first you survive. Unless you survive, all other things may not come into place. Therefore, it is better that people keep on talking about the opportunities that are taken away. The opportunities the Constitution has created, Baba Saheb Ambedkar created, and the previous governments have created, they are taken away, and the number of positions that are open for these sections have come down. And when the private sector comes, you know what kind of discrimination that they observe, and therefore the working class, which are laid off, and they are not given any rights in the working class, and the social proletariat, Baba Saheb content, the social proletariat and the proletariat should come together and see that the constitutional objectives, the constitutional obligations, we call it constitutional obligations, and the preamble of the Constitution of providing economic justice, social justice through article and all that reservations, you may say reservations given for political reservations, okay, but how about economic justice? How to implement economic justice? How to dispense justice? And we know about the courts. See, for example, Supreme Court, when Balco was privatized, Balco is in Chhattisgarh. At that time, Ajit Jogi was the chief minister. You know, Ajit Jogi is a Dalit. Ajit Jogi was chief minister. He gone to the Supreme Court saying that I will buy the Balco. I will pay to him. And Supreme Court said, it's not our business. We don't interfere. In the case of reservation, they interfere. But in the case of economic policy, they don't interfere. This is the kind of judiciary we have. There are good people. The system, we love it. But there are bad persons. And in fact, this has also come in Constituent Assembly debate. When the first amendment to the Constitution took place, Baba Saheb Ambedkar said, because the amendment took place because of the Sampak Dalai Rajan case, said, I respect the Supreme Court, but I am not obliged to follow the judgment given by the judges. So similarly, our judiciary is not assertive. Judiciary always functions under the legislator. Therefore, judiciary is not going to protect. Therefore, we have to see that we should send. We have around 100. I always say, people talk about Rajyadhikara. What is Rajyadhikara? What is political power? You are already there in political power. There are 130 MPs in the parliament. And what is it that they are doing? Therefore, we should educate these 130 people. Maybe including the backward classes, there are 200 MPs in the parliament, the Indian parliament. You must educate them. Our job is, from these communities, should go to them, every MP, and educate them. They may be from different political parties. Are they not united? How they are united? Just 2% of the population running this country through the bureaucracy and through the few selected entrepreneurs are able to control the economy. How? They don't have any differences of the politics. They may belong to this party or that party. They are united. They are the same. Since, as far as we are concerned, we are the beggars. We are begging the government to implement the constitutional provisions. And what prevents you in joining other beggars, other deprived, I'm sorry to use this word, other deprived sections? All are deprived sections. 90% of the population are deprived of their rights, deprived of the constitutional obligations of the government of India and the judiciary not helping us. Therefore, we should go to the representatives of these communities in the parliament or in the assemblies and tell them these are the provisions of the constitution. This is what Baba Sahib Ambedkar said, and this is what you are supposed to do, but you are not doing it. And privatization should be stopped. You can go for privatization when 50% of the population of these communities reach a particular level of development, middle class. Not that we have only 1% of the scheduled caste are the creamy layer, but the 1% of the population are in the jobs. See, I give a simple calculation. There are 1.7 crore jobs now in all sectors, public, government, state, etc. 15% means 26 lakhs jobs. We have only 26 lakhs people, scheduled caste. And what is the population? 20 crores, 23, 24 crores people, scheduled caste, have only 26, means 1%. Only 1% are in the government sector. Even that is also now being denied. I would rather say that you raise this 1% to 50% and then privatize. That may not happen. This is only for argument's sake I'm saying. But what we should do is get united, look at the constitutional provisions and the preamble and the directive principles and fight for our rights, along with all other deprived sections of the society, including, and the BAMSEP has an important role to play here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Professor K. Chalam, sir. Thank you. You have elaborately explained various points, sir. Sir, whatever the explanations we have received today will be useful as a guiding force to run the movement in this country. I would like to inform to all the viewers that today's program is recorded. This is a live program and it will be available in YouTube, WhatsApp, and Facebook, Twitter. And you can view this program at any time, and you can share this program to all your friends and employees and other union leaders, so that what they have to do to safeguard the public sector in this country, to get economic justice. The very important point and a very excellent explanation we have received from Professor K. Chalam, sir. That the economic justice is nothing but employment in private, in public sector and government sector. So whatever the economic justice so far we are receiving in this country is going to be vanished through privatization of public sector and government sector. So thank you, sir, Professor K. Chalam, sir, and we are so happy to view your viewpoints and listen to your viewpoints, sir. Sir, we will invite you again and again because economics is a very big subject and very few experts, living legends that we have seen so far. Thank you for coming to MNT News Network, sir. We will call you again and again. Thank you for your coming to MNT News Network. Thank you for your views. Jai Hind, Jai Mulnivasis, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar.
And tomorrow there will be another program that will be in Hindi. You please watch tomorrow's program at 8:30. Thank you for joining today's program. Jai Hind, Jai Mulnivasis.